All right, everyone, grab your notebooks, grab a drink, get comfortable because we've got about 30 books in this book haul to talk about. Hi everyone, nice to see you back. Welcome to those of you who are new to this channel, especially those of you who joined this channel as a result of the positivity that Jesse from Bow Ties and Books spilled all over myself and this channel in their recent Sips by collaboration. Thank you very much, Jesse, for your support and how sweet you are. Yes, that is the lovely Tomi, who you will meet. When are they meeting you, Tomi?
Probably this weekend.
You're going to meet Tomi this weekend. I mean, you heard it from her, so that's good. So today I'm going to be talking about 30 books that I have purchased in the past little while. If you want to hear more about my process around purchasing books and why I purchase books, then you can look at the last video that I recorded where I did a bit of a chatty discussion while I was in Alberta, and where I talked a little bit about that habit. But you know what? Let's stay in the present. Let's talk about some books. So there's a bunch of them here. I am going to start with a stack of vintage books that I bought from the store The City and the City Books in Hamilton. They've got, if you live in Hamilton, Ontario, or you can travel there, you should definitely go there because they've got great new releases, but they also have somebody who goes out and sources wonderful books, and he's got an amazing sense of taste. So I've gone there twice, and each time I've gone, I found some great used books, some vintage books. So definitely check out that store, and the owner's quite lovely. All right, so the last time I went there, I bought 4 vintage science fiction books. So the first one is George Orwell's 1984. So I read this only once, but it definitely is a classic. It is a masterpiece of political speculation, and I'll just read the back. Newspeak, Doublethink, Big Brother, The Thought Police. George Orwell's world-famous novel coined new and potent words of warning for us all. Alive with Swiftian wit and passion, it is one of the most brilliant satires on totalitarianism and the power-hungry ever written. I don't have any plans of reading this anytime soon, but I do want to return to these kinds of political dystopians because I think they read really differently now as we contend with the political disarray, the men who are in power all around the world who are causing us lots of strife. So 1984 is now in my vintage book collection. I also picked up, I think I got this in my last trip. I'm sorry if there were doubles because as you can see we have new bookshelves, and some of my books got mixed up, so I hope I'm not like double counting these, but whatever, it's life. This is SF12, New Dimensions in Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Imaginative Writing. Imaginative writing, that's a new way to describe a subgenre of science fiction or speculative fiction, so that's interesting. And this collection is edited by Judith Merrill. Judith Merrill was a writer of science fiction and a collector of science fiction, and for those of you in the Toronto area, there is a library collection of rare science fiction books that started with Judith Merrill's own personal collection. It's called the Merrill Collection. So if you're ever in Toronto, you should definitely go to the library on College Street and Spadina Avenue. That's where you'll find the Judith Merrill collection. You can't take out any of the books. They'll dust them off and give you special gloves and let you look through them. There's a lot of really great ones, including transcripts and diaries written by some of the most renowned science fiction writers, and it is the largest collection of vintage science fiction in the world, and that's in Toronto. So this is a collection of different short stories, and the reason why I got this one is because there's a short story in here by Samuel R. Delaney, who is a Black gay science fiction writer, and the story that was written by him, it's called The Star Pit. I think it was an original work, and this book was published in 1968, and it's by Dell, and that's Judith Merrill. We're doing laundry, so we're all gonna have to live with the beeps and bops. Okay, so then I got the Towers of Toron. That is a science fiction book written by Samuel R. Delany, and it's one of these cool vintage ones where on one side you've got one book, but if you turn it over, there's another book. So each actual physical book has two novels in it. So this is the Towers of Toron, and it says here, I love these blurbs, and the book smells like old book, which is nice. Beyond the invisible barrier, we have received warning. The Lord of the Flames is loose on earth once more. Once before, the Lord of the Flames had been driven halfway across the universe. His return would mean a new era of chaos and conflict for the populace of Earth. The Lord of the Flames was a strange adversary, a force of evil devoid of physical substance. He sought warmth in unpredictable places, creeping into the soul of a worm or the stem of a flower or into the mind of a man. Unless his hiding place could be discovered, the Lord of the Flames could crumble the world once more to ashes. But finding him was not a simple matter. Evil is everywhere, and the thing from space only lurked in one being at a time. Very spooky sci-fi. Cool. So there's that. And then there is The Jewels of Aptor, also by Samuel R. Delany. And the question here is, was their leader a mistress of science or a witch of mutants? I mean, both would work for me. Apparently, when this was published, this book cost 40 cents. So I don't know if I can, let me see if I can pull it out of its special cover. Okay, so what was the strange impetus that drove a group of four widely different humans to embark on a fear-filled journey across a forbidden sea to a legendary land? This was Earth still, but the Earth of a future terribly changed after a planet-searing disaster. A planet of weird cults, mutated beasts, and people who were not always entirely human. As for the four who made up that questing party, they included a woman who was either a goddess, a witch, or both, a four-armed boy whose humanity was open to question, and two more men with equally wild talents. The story of their voyage, of the power-wielding jewels they sought, of the atomic and post-atomic terrors they encountered, is a remarkable science fiction odyssey of the days to come. So this book is about the days to come as imagined in 1962 by Samuel R. Delany. So those are some new additions to my vintage science fiction and fantasy collection. I hope you enjoyed that. Okay. The next set of books I want to talk about are books that I purchased. Actually, no, I have one more vintage science fiction. So you might know Chloe from Thistle and Verse, which is a booktube channel that's relatively new. Chloe is one of the co-leads of Solar Powered, which is our Afrofuturism book club on Facebook. And Chloe is very lovely. Chloe went to a store and saw this book, remembered that I collect science fiction and fantasy, and mailed me a copy of it, which was very, very sweet. Thank you very much, Chloe. This is the best science fiction of the year, number 6, and this cost $1.95 back in 1977. This collection was put together by Terry Carr, and it includes stories written by George R.R. Martin, James Tiptree Jr., who was actually a woman, Isaac Asimov, and others. So I am looking forward to slowly moving through all of the science fiction and fantasy collections that I have from the 60s and the 70s and the 80s. All right, so that's, I don't even know, I'll just gotta throw that there. All right, The next set of books that I'm going to talk about are books that I bought from Another Story bookstore, which is a feminist, queer, people of color, really great political environment. It's a bookstore in the Ronsonsville neighborhood of Toronto. So if you're ever in Toronto, you should definitely check out and support that bookstore. I'm trying to wean myself off of Amazon, and this is my bookstore of choice because there are very, very few bookstores that are queer positive, people of color positive, and that really support the community. And Another Bookstore is certainly my bookstore of choice at the moment. So this is what I would call sort of mundane Afrofuturism. This is Say Her Name. It's a collection of poems written by Zetta Elliott and illustrated by Lovius Wise. Award-winning author Zetta Elliott engages poets from the past 2 centuries to create a chorus of voices celebrating their creativity, resilience, and courage, and the courage of Black women and girls. This collection of poetry was inspired by the Say Her Name campaign, which was a campaign to really force us, encourage us, beg us to remember the names of Black women who were murdered by the police. So you'll recall names like Sandra Bland. What I consider to be Afrofuturist about this, from a mundane Afrofuturist perspective, is that there is something very powerful about writing forward, writing poetry forward from the deaths of Black women in particular, and using that poetry to envision better ways of communicating with each other, better ways of honoring their contributions to society, and better ways of even creating art for ourselves. I expect that many of these poems are going to be speaking back to the dead and speaking forward to generations to come. So I'm ready for some like really beautiful political poems coming out of that. All right. I also, hi.
Hi.
Tomi's giving me eyes. All right. The other one that I want to talk about is The Poppy War. This is not written by a Black author. I purchased it because I had high hopes of reading it with the Weekend Readers Book Club, and I wasn't able to do that because the beginning of the year ended up being very emotional and reflective for me, so I didn't do much reading at all, which you'll see in my 2-book January wrap-up video. This was written by R.F. Kuang. When War Orphan Rin aced the Keiju, the empire-wide test to find the most talented youth to learn at the academies, she surprised everyone, test officials, the guardians who wanted to marry her off and further their criminal enterprise, and even herself. But being a dark-skinned peasant girl from the south is not so easy at Sinagard, the most elite military school in Nikon. Targeted by rival classmates for her color, poverty, and gender, Rin discovers that gods long thought dead are very much alive, and that she possesses a lethal unearthly power, an aptitude for the nearly mythical art of shamanism that could be the weapon the Empire desperately needs. While Nakara is at peace, its enemy and former occupiers, the Federation of Mugen, bides its time, and a third Poppy War is just a spark away. Rin's shamanic powers may be the only way to save her people, yet as she discovers more about the god that has chosen her, the vengeful phoenix, she fears that winning the war may cost her humanity, and it may already be too late. So that's The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. The Poppy War was a book that was actually recommended to me by Nalo Hopkinson. She said, she encouraged me to read outside of Black science fiction and fantasy authors to increase the breadth of my reading, and I asked her for a recommendation, and one of the recommendations that she provided to me was The Poppy War, so I will be reading it. All right, so let's get to some middle grade, again with the lovely Zetta Elliott. Lovely and talented, she's not just lovely. So this is The Dragon Thief, and it is the sequel to Dragons in a Bag. And I think that the main character is this girl, and she is the younger sister of Jax, the main character in Dragons in a Bag. So I'll read you the synopsis here. And also the cover art, it's so glossy and beautiful. So Jackson had just one job, to return 3 baby dragons to the realm of magic. But when he got there, only 2 dragons were left in the bag. His best friend's sister, Kavita, is a dragon thief. Kavita only wanted what was best for the baby dragon, but now every time she feeds it, the dragon grows and grows. How can she possibly keep it a secret? Even worse, stealing it from Jackson has upset the balance between the worlds. The gates to the other realm have shut tight. Jackson needs all the help he can get to find Kavita, outsmart a trickster named Blue, and return the baby dragon to its new home. So that's going to be really, really cute. All right. So I'm not sure where I found out about this book, but this is The Lesson by Cadwell Turnbull. And it is a science fiction, I believe it's a first contact story written from the perspective of a person in the Caribbean. So let's see if I'm right. So it says, they will teach us the lesson all the creatures must learn. An alien ship rests over Water Island. For 5 years, the people of the U.S. Virgin Islands have lived in the Yana, lived with the Yana, a race of super advanced aliens on a research mission they will not fully disclose. They are benevolent in many ways, but meet any act of aggression with disproportionate wrath. This has led to a strained relationship between the Yana and the local Virgin Islanders, and a peace that cannot last. A year after the deaths of a young boy at the hands of an Yana, 3 families find themselves at the center of the inevitable conflict, witness and victim to the events that will touch everyone and teach a terrible lesson. I've heard mixed reviews of this one. Some people have described this as very pedantic, very preachy, and very formula. Others have said that it is one of the best Aliens With Us novels that they've read before, and they really enjoyed the fact that we were envisioning this alien-human relationship within, well, I guess it's the U.S. Virgin Islands, so it's not necessarily the Caribbean. So I'm looking forward to it. It was blurbed by Tanana Reeve Dew. She said that Turnbull imparts lessons that both embrace and transcend culture and race to drive at the heart of what it means to be human. So, I mean, Tanana Reeve Dew liked it, and she's brilliant, so hopefully I will like it too. All right, a few more books that I got from Another Story bookstore. So this is Black Girl Unlimited by Echo Brown. And just first, let's have a moment for this gorgeous cover. This is one of the reasons why I love getting physical books, because the covers are just stunners, absolute stunners. So this is a debut. Echo Brown is a wizard from the east side of Cleveland. Okay, first of all, Black Girl, oh, you're not listening. Black Girl Wizard. I just expect the Tommy's always just raptly in attention. I don't even what I'm even saying. So anyway, Echo Brown is a wizard from Cleveland, which was where I just first fell in love. I was like, okay, I'm buying this. A wizard from the east side of Cleveland, where apartments are small and parents suffer addictions to the white rocks. Yet there is magic everywhere. New portals begin to open when Echo transfers to the rich white school on the west side, and an insightful teacher becomes a pivotal mentor. Each day, Echo travels between worlds, leaving her brothers, her friends, and a piece of herself on the east side. There are dangers to leaving behind the place that made you. Echo soon recognizes the pain flowing through everyone around her, and a black veil of depression threatens to undo everything she's worked for. Heavily autobiographical and infused with magical realism, Black Girl Unlimited fearlessly explores the intersections of poverty, sexual violence, depression, racism, and sexism. It's part memoir, part magic. It's a coming-of-age story and an unforgettable debut. I can't wait to get my hands into this book. Really, really beautiful.
It is a gorgeous book.
Yeah, it's really nice. And then I have to thank somebody from Bookstagram. because they posted a picture of them at the book launch for this book. And I was like, what is this? And they told me, and then I was able to get a copy of it. So this is Remembrance. I'm not sure if you've seen this one before. I certainly hadn't heard of it. Remembrance is, it was written by Rita Woods. And it looked to me to be, like, I just, judging a book by its cover, I thought this was more maybe like a historical romance or something, just because of the sepia tone colors and the profile of the face and the head wrap and whatever. So I wasn't sure if it was going to be within my wheelhouse, as it were, but it actually has elements of magical realism, I believe. So let me tell you what this one's about. Braiding together the lives of 4 women through the centuries, Remembrance is a breakout historical debut novel about power and freedom for fans of Christina Baker, Klein, and Tara Conklin. Remembrance. Ohio, present day. A refugee struggling to rebuild her life in America after the devastating Haitian earthquake is suddenly, inexplicably bound to a mysterious old woman who is not at all what she seems. Haiti, 1791, on the brink of revolution. When the slave Abigail is forced from her children to take her mistress to safety, she discovers New Orleans has its own powers, and so does she. Ooh, child. 1857, New Orleans, a city of unrest. Following tragedy, housegirl Margot is sold just before her 18th birthday and her promised freedom. Desperate, she escapes and chases a whisper, Remembrance. Each woman will face choices. Each will claim her power. I like that. 4 women, 1 powerful legacy. Their gifts will shape the world. That's nice. And the last one, what else? Oh, yes. Okay, I got a few more. Okay, I am. Oh, by the way, this is going to be like an hour-long video, so just, whatever. Let's all live our best lives. Okay, I finally got Tristan Strong Punches a Hole in the Sky. This is written by Kwame Mbala, and 7th grader Tristan Strong feels anything but strong ever since he failed to save his best friend when they were in a bus accident together. Oh. All he has left of Eddie is the journal his friend wrote stories in. Tristan is dreading the month he's going to spend on his grandparents' farm in Alabama, where he's been sent to heal from the tragedy. On his first night there, a sticky creature shows up in his bedroom and steals Eddie's journal. Tristan chases it. Is that a doll? Through the forest, and a tug-of-war ensues by his grandmother's mysterious and off-limits bottle tree. In a last attempt to wrestle the journal out of the creature's hands, Tristan punches the tree, accidentally ripping a hole in the sky above Mid-Pass, a volatile place with a burning sea, haunted bone ships, and iron monsters that are hunting the inhabitants of this strange world. Tristan finds himself in the middle of a battle that has left Black American gods John Henry and Brer Rabbit exhausted. In order to get back home, Tristan and these new allies will need to entice the god Anansi the Weaver to come out of hiding and seal the hole in the sky. But bartering with the trickster Anansi always comes at a price. Can Tristan save the world before he loses more of the things he loves? So this one sounds pretty awesome. And I think, yes. Those are all the books that I bought from Another Storybook. So yes, that's it for those. And it looks like, yes, it looks like I'm gonna have to pause here because my little thing on my camera is flashing. So I'm gonna go figure out what that is. And then I will be back with the rest of my books and a very exciting purchase.